How you doing, guys? Joshua here with I Cut Grass, and it's November the 3rd, 2018, about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We're going to roll the clocks back an hour tomorrow. I'm excited about that to sleep in a little bit. Hey, today I'm going to talk to you about creating a lawn mowing contract, but before I do that, I want you to please consider subscribing to my page if you haven't already. If you know somebody that could benefit from this information, please share the information with them, the video link, and ask them if they would subscribe. As I've said before several times, I really just want to help people, okay? And I wing these, so there's no planning. When I sit down to do these, I just shoot from the hip, so to speak. But the goal here today is to help you to be able to create a contract for mowing that you can use to present to your customers. Okay, the contract is good. It serves as a point of reference for both you and your customer. Keeps you guys on the same line. That way, if you promise you're going to do something, it holds you accountable. That way, if it says that you're only going to do X, Y, and Z services, and the customer tries to start getting you to do additional services, then it shows them, hey, that wasn't the agreement. So this can be very basic. It can be as complex as you want it to be. And I will say this much. I've been doing this for 11 years. When I got started, when I was new at sales, before I got into this position, I have found that oftentimes, if you have a product, if you have a service that a customer wants, it ultimately, and cost is within reason, it ultimately just comes down to how you present the agreement to them. So if you come to a customer with a contract and say, hey, would you mind signing this? I need to have this on file. You're going to give them create a sense of doubt in their mind where they're going to think that they can negotiate service, from you without a contract. And why is that important? I'm going to flash back maybe 4 or 5 years ago to a guy who used to be a Wendy franchisee. He had 5 or 6 Wendy's, very financially successful. He wanted me to write him in as a secondary insurer to my general liability insurance policy, but he didn't want to execute a contract for lawn mowing. He didn't care about anyone but himself. Okay, you need to protect yourself. My goal is to help you protect yourself first as a business owner so your business doesn't go down, so you don't get screwed over by customers. And most of the customers out there are good, but everybody goes through hard times and everybody can change like that. So the customers that you think that are outstanding would never leave you will leave you, believe you me, for one reason or another eventually. Maybe you get to finish for them over many years and then you decide to retire. Maybe, you hit the lottery. Maybe, they die. Maybe the kid next door is now old enough to push a mower and he needs to pay for college. And guess who's going to get snubbed? You are. I've had it happen to me before. Now keep in mind, I'm on the residential side of the industry. As this video progresses, you might want to hit that pause button so you can take some notes. I'm going to use one of my sample lawn contracts for this discussion today. I'll read through it and just know that you can adjust it however you see fit. Know this much. I'm not an attorney, okay? I'm not pretending to be an attorney. You'll need to verify, if some of these things are applicable or if they'll hold up within your state, okay? This has been my experience in Indiana that this does work. So what I do is I run QuickBooks, and I've shared this before in my videos in the past. Run whatever software you want to run that you feel comfortable with. I use QuickBooks Online. They do have a lawn mowing service program online that you can use. I've not purchased that. I've just used the online version of QuickBooks flat out. It charges me like $35 a month. So what you want to do, you go in there, you create an invoice. First thing you do is you create the date of the invoice and then the date of the expiration, okay? What you want to do is you want to create a sort of a sense of urgency in the mind of the customer so they don't just put you off to the last second or ultimately don't buy the product altogether. So I always take my invoices and I date them for 48 hours. From the time the invoice is sent over, it's good for 2 days, not business days, 2 days, 2 calendar days, and then it's no longer good. Okay, so in this particular case, and I keep these at my desk for reference to keep me on my P's and Q's, so to speak. So in the first entry, what I have here is I got an outline of what the lawn mowing service is. And this particular contract is titled 2019 Lawn Mowing Service. And here's what I've put in there. Weekly lawn service consisting of cutting, trimming, and blowing. We will also edge the walkways as necessary. Service begins as soon as grass comes out of dormancy and will run until Thanksgiving Thursday or the first snow, whichever occurs first. Mowing beyond that time is available on a week-per-week request. Now, in this particular contract for this customer, I list what their monthly fee or their weekly fee is. Weekly service is $40 and is billed monthly. usually by the middle of the month, and payment is due by the 3rd of the following month in the form of a check made payable to I Cut Grass LLC. Now, time out. You can change that wording and say that it is, ran to a credit card number that you keep on file that they provide to you when they accept the contract. So that way, every time you mow the grass, you're running that credit card. And I would encourage you to use that instead of a monthly invoicing program, because you don't want to look at a big AR, because you've already worked for the money that you've earned. It's no fun at the end of the month to go through $15, $16, $17, $20,000 in outstanding fees to call people. You've already worked for that. Now let's continue. There's a $25 late fee for all payments received after the 3rd. Now, this again falls back on the monthly invoicing. If their credit card doesn't go through for whatever reason that day, you could opt to say if the credit card does not go through, there's a $15 or $20 late fee. If you want to do that, that's up to you. Now, you don't want to be too much of a stickler, but your customers have to respect the fact that you're in business and you're providing service. Bottom line, you're not a bank. Now, let's continue. There's a $75 bounce check fee for any check that is returned for insufficient funds. Why is that important? Because it's going to cost you a lot of time and a headache to have to go through and call your creditors or call your bank and explain why that happened, which they're already going to know. But the big thing here that I realized, and I learned after many years being in business, is when someone writes you a bad check, it hurts your business relationship, your business credit with your bank. That is a fact. So maybe you don't want to take checks. And let me tell you something further. The best of the people on this planet are capable of making mistakes. They can write bad checks. That's why it's in your best interest to be paid at time of service. Let's continue further. I also put a clause in here because I do have a heart. Okay? People have family members that die. They get sick. They might be rushed to the emergency room. They might get stuck, catastrophic events, so forth and so on. If you can't make your payment on time, please simply send an email to my email address, and your account will be noted so your service is not interrupted. Customer may request to have service not performed any given week, but agrees to pay the contractor for service as the contractor has made a commitment to the customer and has not taken on another customer in lieu of that commitment. That's important, because if you don't do that, you'll get these jokers that will start doing this bi-weekly and tri-weekly crap, wanting to pay you 1 week's worth of wages. And that's not fair to you. This is just like rent. You don't got to stay in that apartment tonight when you go to bed. You can stay somewhere else, but you still got to pay rent because a commitment has been made to you. And this all comes down to how you present it to your customers. If you're smooth, if you rehearse this and you don't show stress, they'll go along with it. But if you give them any opportunity to interject and you say anything that looks like it's got a cause of concern on your end, they're going to exploit that. And maybe not all of them will, but a big chunk of them will, trust me. This isn't a high-pressure sales pitch. All this is an outline of what the agreement is between you and the customer. The next paragraph suggests agreement terms. And you can put that information as you want to put it. This is just how I do it. To secure service, please return a signed copy of this estimate along with a non-refundable $50 deposit no later than 2 days, whatever that, and put the actual date in there. Your deposit will be applied to your account to help set up your account for mapping. This is important. Let's say you have 100 customers. Let's say you have 200 customers. You cannot just go on a mapping program and just start writing down names and drive all over the place. You need to drive where there's as little amount of drive time as possible. So what I do is the top of the schedule is whatever is the furthest west, and I work my way back east. But also understand, it's not that easy. I have to take into consideration traffic. If my first property is a 45-minute drive west Monday morning, I'm not going to start there. I'm going to start with a couple local properties so that the rush hour traffic passes, okay? And I'm not burning time sitting behind cars, and then I'm going to meander all the way out west and work my way back. But you also have to take into consideration afternoon traffic. How long does it take you to mow each lawn? How much drive time is from A to B? So mapping is a big thing, and you need to be paid for that. Now, if you don't mind working for free, hey, don't have them give you a deposit. Again, it all comes down to how you present yourself to the customer, but I've done this so many times, people pay for it. And if they come back and they say, well, they don't charge me, a deposit, this company does, okay, I understand. Feel free to go with them if you feel that they're a better fit. Because the bottom line is, the longer you get in this industry, customers are going to be beating down your door. That's a fact. Do good work, and be dependable and consistent, and everything else will take care of itself. So then we go into what I call the rain delay protocol. At the top of the season, A schedule is made and service is generally provided on the same day each week. Sometimes traffic accidents and weather may delay service to the next day. In the event of a rain delay, we will service your lawn the next day possible and always default to the original scheduled day of the week the following week. In cases when we have gotten excessive rain and the ground may be too soft to service the lawn, we may catch the lawn up on the following week in order to avoid damaging turf. And I stay with that. Now let me continue real quick. Service is still billed as if it was provided regularly because we cannot control excess rain. And when we service the lawn the next week, it often may need to be cut numerous times and will likely take much longer to service. There is no negotiating on that. Period. It's harder for you just the same as it's harder for them. And you're running your equipment all day, and every little bit of additional resistance like that from the turf is going to further dull your blades. And I bet a majority of you guys out there are not sharpening your blades every 8 hours of use like you're supposed to. Keep that in mind, because if not, you're going to tear the ends of the blades of the grass, which will turn brown in the summer. And then people will wonder what's going on. It won't be nice and green. Lastly, I have a disclosure for cancellation. Customer agrees to provide a written cancellation in request in writing via email to my email address and to give a 30-day notice for cancellation. Cancellation date is effective 30 days from the date of the cancellation having been received. So I tell them in the email, customer agrees to carbon copy him or herself in the event of cancellation, and customer agrees to pay contractor for mowing through cancellation date, but may request that the work is not performed. I want to include something else in here, and you can do all kinds of clauses that you want to do. Lawn furniture, we don't move them. We don't touch it. Why? Because if it becomes broken, then they're going to say we're responsible for it. So if they've got trampolines or whatever it is, what you want to do is put in a clause in there that customer agrees to have the lawn in a serviceable condition when we come by to service the lawn. That we will not move lawn furniture for liability purposes. Plain and simple. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Now, when you send out your statements have a due date. It lists everything that you've done. And then on the bottom of the statement, you put things like there's a $25 late fee for payments not received on time. There's a $75 NSF fee for checks that come back. But also maybe in your contract, you include a clause that if an account becomes delinquent for 60 days, that it may be pursued by a third-party collection agency, that you may pursue it legally if they have to, or if you have to. And then if that's the case, they're going to be responsible for legal fees, court costs, maybe even an APR at that point in time, like a 7% APR or whatever it is, okay? But you want to get the specifics verified from an attorney. Anyway, guys, this stuff will help you with your lawn care contract. It's not rocket science, and it's not difficult. Get this stuff down up here and practice in front of a mirror presenting this stuff. Oftentimes people call me for an estimate and I just email it over to them and say, hey, I need this back signed within 2 days. I've got several people on a waiting list, and the way that this works is I take these in as they come in. I've got 19 more spots. As soon as that 19th spot is filled, I'm done, regardless of how many estimates are out there. So if you're serious about this, it's in your best interest to get this back to me as soon as possible within that timeline. Sooner rather than later. Guys, I hope this helps. Again, if you haven't already, subscribe to my page. Tell people about this page. Let's help people succeed in this industry so you don't have to punch the clock for someone else and help make their dreams a reality. Instead, you could be making your own dreams a reality. I Cut Grass, LLC. Thanks.